Never go back to the bottom. To the bottom. Guess they wanted to rob. I'm just trying to give me some dollars. Couple dollars. We're starting late today. Look at this little dangler. Little dangler, Echo. Echo, come here. I had to comb Echo for like 20 minutes. He's got so many mats in his hair. You're all matted. I only combed half of him because it was taking so long. We're going to have to comb the other half tomorrow. I thought there was a daytime. Come here. Where are you going? I thought there was a daytime verbal combat today. I thought it was starting at noon Eastern time, which is 10 my time. But it hasn't started yet. So that's fine. Gonna be another short day today. I'm getting started late. So we are on the plagues. As you can see, I've went through the plagues on my Dreaded Conservative show on Monday nights pretty extensively. I broke down each plague, meanings behind the plagues, and we did all that on an episode a while ago, probably like 2 years ago. So it's been a while since I've gone through Exodus. It's been like at least a year, probably more like 2 years since I read through Exodus. Doesn't mean I don't know it. It's not fresh in my mind. You know? I've probably read Exodus 20 times. So, you know, I got the knowledge. So we're going to start at Genesis 8. We've already read one of the plagues yesterday. We read about one of the plagues yesterday. Where are you going? Yesterday we read about the water turning to blood. The first plague that Moses brought on Egypt and the Pharaoh was the water turning to blood. Remember, Pharaoh's heart has been hardened by God. He's not going to let Moses' people go. You know? He's not going to let them go. So now we're going to get into the rest of the plagues. Get a sip of my water. The water. All right. You guys ready? We got to get into this quick. Wait until 11. One more minute. Uno momento. I ride through different spots. I get flashbacks. You can get on my level. I'm past that. Sorry. I got ramen and OJ stuck in my head. Was surviving off ramen and OJ. Shorty paying my bills. I had no way. I can never go back to the bottom. To the bottom. All right. Is it 11? It's 11. Let's get into this. Chapter 8. Here come the frogs and the lice. Lice. This would suck. Anybody ever had lice? I've had lice before. When I was a dang hobo, I had some lice. Couldn't help it. When you're staying in the shelter, can't help it. As soon as one guy gets it, everybody gets it. Lice. Everybody having lice in Egypt would suck. Okay. And I wonder, as we do this, I think when I did my episode on the Dreaded Conservative show, I actually played video clips of real life examples of things like this happening. A plague of frogs. Okay. And this is the story I told then. I remember this story. I'm going to tell you this story right now real quick while we see if anybody else rolls in here. Plague. I need to go to YouTube. I can't play you video because yesterday I played a video of the blood water. But, and it got copyrighted. So I'm trying to stay up in the algorithm. We don't need copyrights during these streams. Plague of Frogs. Plague of Frogs, modern day. That's what I'm going to look up. Saints Row. Plague of Frogs Bible story. Plague of Frogs in Egypt. Frog infestation. Plague of Frogs reflections for today's world. God sent frogs to mock this strange Egyptian fertility goddess. You know who that is, right? Kek. He sent the frogs to mock Kek. Kek is the fertility goddess. Kek is the frog that you see Pepe the Frog. You'll see certain people in certain online communities, 4chan communities and stuff. They'll always put Kek in the comments. What they're referring to is the Egyptian goddess of fertility. And that's why he sends the frogs to mock Kek. I don't see any examples of modern day frog plagues. There's definitely examples of modern day locust plagues, flooding, a lot of the other plagues, but frogs is kind of wild. Anyway, let's get into this. Chapter 8. And the Lord spake unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thine bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thine ovens, and into thy kneading troughs, where they knead the bread. And the frogs shall come up both on thee, and upon thy people, and upon all thy servants. And the Lord spake unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch forth thine hand with the rod over the streams, over the rivers, and over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up upon the land of Egypt. And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments, and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron, and said, Entreat the Lord, that he may take away the frogs from me, and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto the Lord. So Pharaoh says, Get rid of these dang frogs, and I'll let the people go. I promise. But Pharaoh is a real jerk. Remember, this Pharaoh guy, he's a real jerk. He doesn't ever let the people go. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, Glory over me. When shall I entreat for thee? Fire truck. I bet that dummy who was out there doing donut right before I started the stream, somebody was peeling out and like burning out and doing donuts in the street out front like a dummy. And now there's a fire truck out there. Dude probably got in an accident. Anyway. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, Glory over me. When shall I entreat for thee and for thy servants and for thy people to destroy the frogs from thee and thy houses, that they may remain in the river only? And he said, Tomorrow. And he said, why didn't he say, right now, Moses? Do it right now, please. Please, sir. Be it according to thy word, that thou mayest know that there is none like unto the Lord our God. And the frogs shall depart from thee, and from thy house, and from thy servants, and from thy people. They shall remain in the river only. And Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried unto the Lord because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses, and the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart, and hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. And the Lord said unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch out thy rod, and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout all the land of Egypt. All the sand is going to turn into lice. We're not talking a couple people get lice here and there. We're talking the sand of the earth turns into lice. Lice everywhere. Piles of lice, just lice flowing through the street. Could you imagine? That's insane. That's crazy. If you've ever had lice, you know. Woo, that's not good. That is no bueno. And they did so, for Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and smote the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became lice throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, but they could not. So now the magicians can't keep up anymore. The magician's like, Pharaoh, I could turn my rod into a snake. I can turn water into blood. But I can't make the dirt turn into lice. What are you talking about? Even if I could, there's no sand left. It's all lice already. What are we supposed to do, Pharaoh? And there were lice upon... I already read that. This is the finger of... then the magician said unto Pharaoh, this is the finger of God, uppercase G, not their lowercase g's. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them as the Lord had said. Bro, how are you not going to let your slaves go when your whole city is covered in lice? That's crazy. This Pharaoh guy's a real jerk. And the Lord said unto Moses, rise up early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh. Lo, he cometh forth to the water, and say unto him, thus saith the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou wilt not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies upon thee. And you thought the lice were bad. Wait till there's lice everywhere and flies. And upon thy servants and upon thy people and into thy houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of flies, the Lord of the flies, and also the ground whereon they are. They're everywhere. Flies everywhere. Lice everywhere. It's a mess. And I will sever in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end thou may knowest that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth. So where the Israelite slaves are, Goshen, no flies, no lice. Oh, I almost broke my Death Star. And I will put a division between my people and thy people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. And the Lord did so, and there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of swarm of flies. And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron, and said, go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land. Go, get out of here. You can go sacrifice. Just get rid of these flies, please. And Moses said, it is not meet so to do. It is not meet so to do. For we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to the Lord our God. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us? We will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God, as he shall command us. And Pharaoh said, I will let you go, that ye may sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness. Only ye shall not go very far away. Entreat for me. It's like, do this one thing for me. Don't go real far away. Stay kind of close. And Moses said, behold, I go out from thee, and I will entreat the Lord that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people tomorrow. But let not Pharaoh deal deceitfully any more in not letting the people go to sacrifice to the Lord. And Moses went out from Pharaoh and entreated the Lord. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses, and he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. There remained not one. And Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time also. Neither would he let the people go. What a dummy. What a dummy. Then the Lord said unto Moses, go in unto Pharaoh and tell him, thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, let my people go, that they may serve me. For if thou refuse to let them go, and will hold them still, behold, the hand of the Lord is upon thy cattle, which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the asses, upon the camels, upon the oxen, and upon the sheep. There shall be a very grievous murrain, a plague, a pestilence. Let me look up the exact meaning of murrain. I'm just going to Google it. I'm not going to strong it. because, yeah, it's an infectious disease, especially babesiosis affecting cattle or other animals, a plague, an epidemic, or a crop blight. The word murrain is an antiquated term covering various infectious diseases affecting cattle and sheep. The word originates from Middle East English morian or morine, in parallel to Latin morina, a probable derivative of Latin mori. So all the livestock is going to have a plague on them. And this is the frogs, lice, flies, water blood. This is the 5th plague. We're only halfway there. And the Lord shall sever between the cattle of Israel and the cattle of Egypt, and there shall nothing die of all that is the children's of Israel. And the Lord appointed a set time, saying, tomorrow the Lord shall do this thing in the land. And the Lord did that thing on the morrow, and all the cattle in Egypt died. But of the cattle of the children of Israel died not one. And Pharaoh sent, and behold, there was not one of the cattle of the Israelites dead. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. What a stupid Pharaoh. And the Lord said unto Moses, well, is it stupid Pharaoh or, remember, God said he will harden Pharaoh's heart. So even if Pharaoh wanted to let the people go, which you got to think any king in his right mind, after seeing all this, is going to be like, yeah, just get rid of the Israelites. I don't want to play with their God no more. But he couldn't even choose to let them go if he wanted to, because God said, I will harden the Pharaoh's heart so that he could judge Egypt. He did not let the people go. And the Lord said unto Moses and unto Aaron, take to you handfuls of ashes of the furnace, and let Moses sprinkle it toward the heaven in the sight of Pharaoh. And it shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beasts throughout all the land of Egypt. Which is odd, because all the beasts are dead. Well, all the livestock is dead. So now I guess everything is going to die. Because the horses, asses, or the chickens, I don't know if they probably didn't have pigs. Because I don't think they ate pigs out there. But now boils are breaking out on their skin, almost like it doesn't say. I don't think it says anywhere in here leprosy specifically, but their skin breaks out in boils, a plague of boils, festering bulges and pulsating, gushing boils. Wow. That's nasty. Ew, that's nasty. And it shall become small dust in all the land of Egypt, and shall be a boil breaking forth with blains. I already read this. And they took ashes of the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moses sprinkled it up toward heaven, and it became a boil breaking forth with blains upon man and upon beasts. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, for the boil was upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh. That's very important here. And he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had spoken unto Moses. And the Lord said unto Moses, rise up early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh, and say unto him, thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, let my people go, that they may serve me. For I will at this time send all my plagues upon thine heart, and upon thine servants, and upon thy people, that thou mayest know that there is none like me in all the earth. For now I will stretch out my hand, that I may smite thee and thy people with pestilence, and thou shalt be cut off from the earth. And in very deed for this cause have I raised thee up, for to show in thee my power, and that my name may be declared throughout all the earth. So now everybody's going to be sick. It wasn't enough that their skin was covered in boils. Now everybody's sick. And yet exaltest thou thyself against my people, that thou wilt not let them go. Behold, tomorrow about this time I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, such as hath not been in Egypt since the foundation thereof, even until now. Okay, so I thought pestilence meant sickness, but it might just mean problems. Pestilence. A fatal epidemic disease, especially bubonic plague. Okay, so it is a pestilence. So wait. So is that 2 plagues, pestilence, and then hail? The cattle was 5. The boils are 6. Pestilence is 7. Hail is 8. No. Okay, so it just says, so pestilence is not one of the plagues. He's just saying, I'm going to be a plague to the people. So now he's sending hail, right? Hail is the 8th, 9th, 10th. Hail is the 7th plague. Send therefore now and gather thy cattle and all that thou hast in the field, for upon every man and beast which shall be found in the field and shall not be brought home, the hail shall come down upon them, and they shall die. He that feared the word of the Lord among the servants of Pharaoh made his servants and his cattle flee into the houses. And he that regarded not the word of the Lord left his servants and his cattle in the field. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch forth thine hand toward heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, upon man and upon beast and upon every herb of the field throughout the land of Egypt. And Moses stretched forth his rod toward heaven, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground. And the Lord rained hail upon the land of Egypt. And there was hail and fire mingled with the hail, very grievous, such as there was none like it in all the land of Egypt since it became a nation. So not just is there giant rocks of ice falling through the sky, big enough to kill a cow, but there's fire coming out of the ground too. And the hail smote throughout all the land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast. And the hail smote every herb of the field, and brake every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, was there no hail. And Pharaoh sent and called for Moses and Aaron, and said unto them, I have sinned this time. This time the Lord is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. Yeah, you're a real jerk, Pharaoh. Entreat the Lord, for it is enough that there be no more mighty thunderings and hail, and I will let you go, and ye shall stay no longer. And Moses said unto him, as soon as I am gone out of the city, I will spread abroad my hands unto the Lord, and the thunder shall cease. Neither shall there be any more hail, that thou mayest know how that the earth is the Lord's. But as for thee and thy servants, I know that ye will not yet fear the Lord God. And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear, and the flax was bolled, bolled, B-O-L-L-E-D, bolled. Basically, it was harvest. It was ready for harvest, and then the hail came down and destroyed all of the crops. But the wheat and the rye were not smitten, for they were not grown up. And Moses went out to the city from Pharaoh and spread abroad his hands unto the Lord, and the thunders and hail ceased, and the rain was not poured upon the earth. And when Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunders were ceased, he sinned yet more and hardened his heart, he and his servants. And the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, neither would he let the children of Israel go, as the Lord had spoken by Moses. 3 to go, 3 more. Chapter 10. And the Lord said unto Moses, go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart, and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy son and of thy son's son what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that ye may know how that I am the Lord. And Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh, and said unto him, thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring locusts into thy coast, and they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth. You're not even going to be able to see the ground. Picture you walk outside, and you can't even see the ground, but the ground is moving. Everywhere you look, the ground is moving, kind of like waves of an ocean. You can't see dirt, you can't see grass, but you see like brown and it's moving, you know? It's like moving in waves. And then you realize that it's millions and millions of locusts. Oh, I hate locusts. That would be horrible. I still think lice is like way worse though, but anyway. Not be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail. So your barley and your the other crop, the legumes or whatever, they're done. But your wheat and your grain was still baby plants. It wasn't harvest time yet. So if he would have let them go, they would have still not starved to death because eventually they would have had wheat and grain. But now the locusts are going to come and they're going to eat all that. Everything that's left, the locusts are going to eat it. Remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field. And they shall fill thy houses and the houses of all thy servants and the houses of all the Egyptians, which neither thy fathers nor thy fathers' fathers have seen since the day that they were upon the earth unto this day. And he turned himself and went out from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's servants said unto him, How long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? And Moses and Aaron were brought again unto Pharaoh, and he said unto them, Go serve the Lord your God. But who are they that shall go? And Moses said, We will go with our young and with our old, with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds will we go. For we must hold a feast unto the Lord. And he said unto them, Let the Lord be so with you, as I will let you go and your little ones. Look to it, for evil is before you. Not so. Go now, ye that are men, and serve the Lord, for that ye did desire, and they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come up upon the land of Egypt and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail hath left. Because basically Pharaoh's like, I'll let the men go. Get out of here. I'm going to let the men go. And God said, no, that's not what I said. I didn't say just let the men go. I said the men, the women, the children, the daughters, the sons, the old people, the cattle, the herds, everything. Let them all go. And Pharaoh said, just let the men, I'll let the men go. How about that? Let's compromise. Let's wheel and deal. You can't wheel and deal. God is the ultimate deal maker. The real art of the deal was written by God right here. Never compromise. No compromise. No backing down. Not a single step back. Ain't that right? Hope you didn't start too long ago. I started 30 minutes ago. And I'm not going to go super long today. We're just going to do the plagues, I think. And we're already on the 7th plague, Dean. And eat every herb of the land. Where was I? And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt, and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. These weren't normal locusts. These are like mutant cyclops gargantuan locusts. These were freaky locusts that nobody had ever seen before and nobody's ever seen again. In Florida, we had these big old yellow locusts. They weren't locusts. I can forget what they were called, but they're like yellow and black and red. Let me see if I can pull a picture of one up. These things were freaky. I hated them. Oh, and I forgot to tell you my freaky frog story. Why a plague of frogs freaks me out. But Florida, but we didn't call them locusts. Yes, that's it. That is it. The Florida lubber grasshopper. So it's not really a locust. Well, check out this thing. Oh, these things creeped me out when I was a kid. Hold on, check this out. I can never go back to the bottom. To the bottom. These things freaked me out when I was a kid. The Florida lubber grasshopper. Look how big it is. It's the size of your index finger. They're like this big. And they're like yellow and black and red. They have like red spots on them. Yeah, there we go. That's a small one. But see, that's almost the length of his index finger. And that's like a small one. These things freaked me out when I was a kid. Look at this. The colorful eastern lubber is one of the most distinctive and destructive grasshopper species found in the southern United States. Here's another there's a theory out there that the Garden of Eden was actually in Florida. It's a crazy theory. I don't believe it, but you know, it says it's a type of locust like nobody's ever seen before or ever seen again. Look at the spikes on its back leg. You see these spikes? These things freaked me out when I was a kid. Bright yellow, leopard spots on them. They got like leopard spots on them. And then their back leg, this leg here, has spikes on it. And their like their feet too. Here and here. Look at the back leg here. You see these little spikes? These things were so freaky. Could you imagine a million of these so that you couldn't see the ground? And with the locusts the Bible's talking about were even freakier than these. Heck no. Heck no. Uh-uh. No. No. I'm not playing with that. Uh-uh. If I'm Pharaoh, I'm letting the people go. And then the frogs. Here's my crazy frog story when I was a kid. In Florida, we had big old fat warty toads. Big old fat wart-covered nasty toads. And I didn't like them. And we also had big old tree frogs too. I liked the tree frogs. Tree frogs were cool to catch and play with and like put them in a jar with a stick and a leaf to recreate their natural environment. But the toads were these fat warty things. And I would, if there was one that got into the house, I would pick it up and I would throw it out the house. I didn't like them, but I wasn't like afraid of them. But they were nasty and they would pee on you. When you picked them up, they would pee on you. It's like a defense mechanism. If something tried to eat them, they just pee, and it's stinky and nasty. Probably tasted gross. I wouldn't know. They can eat a lot fast. Yeah. Isn't it a big relief having 50 pounds of it? It was only 6 pounds, 5 or 6 pounds. But yeah, it is. Yeah, their mouths do look crazy when they move, and they have mandibles, and they're like, and their mouth works like 6 different ways, and it's like, oh, they're freaky. But so anyway, the toads in Florida. I was never really scared of them, but one day we used to play hide and seek, like the whole block, all the kids on the block. You ever seen the movie Dennis the Menace, where all the kids on the block are playing hide and seek at night? We used to do that. The whole block at night would play hide and seek in the neighborhood. And like the whole neighborhood, or manhunt, we would call it manhunt, but the whole neighborhood was like the boundaries. So it was a huge game of hide and seek. Anyway, I was a Florida boy, so we didn't wear shoes. I would just run around barefoot all the time on like rough concrete. Not no blacktop, not no smooth concrete. This was rough concrete and dirt and rocks. Never wore shoes. Anyway, I still remember this to this day. It's one of the freakiest things that ever happened to me. I was running from my friend. He's trying to catch me, and I'm running, and I got to get to my garage door, which is base. I'm running up my driveway, and I step barefooted, and I hear pop, and my foot is just soaking wet. I'm thinking I just stepped on a landmine and my foot exploded or something. No, I stepped on one of those big, fat, nasty, warty toads. A toad probably this big. I stepped on him barefooted, and he exploded under my bare foot, and it traumatized me. I was so freaked out. I was like, I was freaking out. Anyway, I digress. Enough story time about the horrors of Florida for a child. All I'm saying is these plagues don't sound fun at all. Are those insects invasive? I know Florida has a few invasive issues they deal with. They're destructive, but I don't know. There was never like a big issue with them. They're just there and they're destructive. I don't think they're invasive. Like they don't take over, but they have their mating season and there's a lot of them and they will destroy your crops. They plant themselves in the grounding. I don't know if those ones do that. Locusts do that, but what I was just showing you is not a locust. It's a type of grasshopper. But maybe you're right. I don't know. I know locusts do that. For like 50 years, they'll plant themselves in the ground and then they'll remember last year was like there was 2 giant swarms of locusts that alternate their patterns of planting their eggs in the ground, and then the eggs come up at the ground. And usually, like the way that it lines up, these ones will come out, and then these ones will come out. So there's a season for this one and a season for this one. Then back and forth every year they alternate. But the way the time lined up, like every 100 or so years, they both come out of the ground at the same time. And this happened a year or 2 ago, and I talked about it on my show. People were like, oh, it's the sign of the end times. Both of the crops are coming out at the same time, and this only happens every 130 years or something like that. Remember that? And there was like millions of locusts out here in the Midwest. We had them everywhere. Remember the grasshopper plague that happened like last year? There was freaking bugs everywhere. Sign of the end times. Uh-oh. We made it though. 2025. Staying alive. Okay, where was I at? Anyway, bunch of locusts. Not good. Where were we? Okay, so Pharaoh says the men can leave. Lord says, no, the locusts come, and the locusts went up all over the land of Egypt and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. For they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened. And they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. This could explain why they say Egypt used to be more lush, and now it's like a desert. Dang, locusts got them. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God. I just made a. We got to reverse. Remember when I said, God sent the plague that killed all of the cattle, all of the horses, all of the oxen, all of the sheep, killed all the livestock with the death plague to the animals, right? But then the next plague, he sends the hail, and it says it's going to kill all the beasts that are left. The beasts that are left. And I was like, I wonder what if he already killed all the livestock, what kind of beasts are left? And I just realized. I just realized. You know what beast was left? You guys know where I'm going with this, right? You know where I'm going with this, right? What beast was in Egypt besides the horses and the oxen and the cattle and the sheep? What other beast do I believe was in Egypt at that time? Dean, you know what the beast was, the king of the land, the king of land, the king of beasts. You have to have really big hail to kill a behemoth. You got to have really big hailstones to kill a dang brontosaurus. That's right, Dean. You got it. Let's go. We got more proof. We got more proof. Next time somebody questions me, I'm going to say, hey, you know, in the third plague, God kills all of the livestock. Let's see. The hand of the Lord is upon thy cattle which are in the field, the horses, the donkeys, the camels, the oxen, and the sheep, with a grievous murrain, and they all die. Right? But then in the next plague, he sends hail, which kills all the remaining beasts. What beasts are left? If all of the livestock is dead, what beasts are left? The dinosaurs. That's what wiped out the remaining dinosaurs in Egypt. That's what happened to the behemoth. And then the locusts explain why Egypt is a desert now. Dude, it's all here. It's all here. This is why the Bible's the best book ever. Dude, the more I read the Bible, the more my dino pyramid theory is foolproof. You cannot poke holes in it. There's no holes to be poked. The beast Daniel killed is said to be some sort of dinosaur. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole book in the Catholic Bible called Bel and the Dragon, which I believe is written, which Daniel wrote that, and he talks about the dragons. And Job talks about the behemoth. Yeah. Remember, he mixes ash and something else, proving the beast was mortal to the king. I don't remember that exact story, but I wouldn't be surprised. There might be some behemoths left, but they're not in Egypt anymore because the hail wiped them out. Okay. Anyway, so they covered the face of the whole earth, and there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now, therefore, forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God that he may take away from me this death only. And he went out from Pharaoh and entreated the Lord. And the Lord turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coasts of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart yet again, so that he would not let the children of Israel go. We got 2 plagues left, guys. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. It's going to be so dark in Egypt that you can feel it. You can feel it. It's not just going to be like nighttime dark. It's going to be dark. It's going to be Ethiopian dark. Daniel has more verses in the Catholic Bible. Interesting, huh? Wonder why the King James Version took it out. Could be a lot of reasons. The basic Christian explanation is that after examination, they decided that those writings of Daniel weren't actually scriptural, because Daniel was also just a poet. He just liked to write. So some of the things he wrote some of the things he wrote were scriptural. They were meant to be scripture. They were inspired by God. And then some of the things he wrote, he was just writing in his free time. It's like if you have an author who writes history, but then every now and then they dabble in fiction. And then you're going to make a collection of all of their historical writings. You're not going to put their poetry and their fiction into the collection of historical writings from that author. That's like the idea of how they explain why some books didn't make it into the King James version of the Bible, even though some of those books were written by Daniel, who wrote Psalms, who wrote other books in the Bible. But they didn't put those ones in there because they would argue he was just writing in his free time. Like this was not inspired writing from God, so we're not going to put it into the scripture, because he wasn't writing scripture at that time. He was just writing some poetry, or he was just, writing a story. So that's why they take Bel and the Dragon out, because they say it was just Daniel writing a fictional story. Basically, he was just writing a story for fun, but it's not actually scripture. I don't know if that's true. That's just one of the explanations I've heard of why some Apocrypha didn't make it in. Other Apocrypha didn't make it into the King James because allegedly it was debunked and proven to either be a what's the word I'm looking for? A forgery. Some of them were proven to be forgeries. So either they weren't written at the time they should have been written at, or they couldn't verify the author was who it claimed to be. Or some of them they took out because they said this doesn't jive with our message. So there's a lot of different reasons why different Apocrypha doesn't make it into the King James version. But I don't think that makes it any less important. I still plan on reading all those books. I haven't read all of them. I've read some of them, and I've read bits and pieces of a lot of them. But by the time we're done with this series, which is going to take me a year to get through this on stream, and then as we go, actually, you know what I should do? I should pull up a list of all the books of the Bible in order of how they are. And then when I get to one that's not in here, I can just read it off the internet. Not like chronological order, but how does the Catholic Bible structure it? Are all the extra books at the end? How do they do it? Or the Orthodox Bible has the most books. I think it has 72 books. The Catholic Bible has like how many books in Catholic Bible? 73 in the Catholic Bible. How many books in Orthodox Bible? There's Ethiopian Orthodox, there's Coptic Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox. Ethiopian Orthodox Bible has 81 books. Coptic has 73, same as the Catholic. So if I list all canonical Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Does this include the Book of Enoch? This one has 88 books. The Ethiopian Bible have 88 books. Ancient Ethiopia, 800 years older than the King James Version, contains 81 to 88 books compared to 66. So actually, this was 800 years after the King James Version. The Ethiopian Orthodox Bible has 88 books. Yeah, it does include Enoch. So Enoch, they put it after. They put. Let me see. It's all the same until after Second Chronicles. Then you get the book of Jubilee. Then you get the book of Enoch. But then they combine Ezra and Nehemiah into one book, which is different than how the King James Bible separates them. Then you get Second Ezra and Ezra Sutuel, Tobit, Judith, then Esther. We have Esther. Then First Maccabees, Second and Third Maccabees. Then we have Job, Psalms, Proverbs. Then you get Tegsats, Met-Sihafe, Tebeb, the books of wisdom. They have an extra book of wisdom other than Proverbs. Then there's Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs, Isaiah, Jeremiah. They don't have Lamentations. Huh. So this is odd. There's 88 books in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, but they combine Ezra and Nehemiah into one book, and they don't even have Lamentations. That's odd. Huh. Daniel, Hosea. They don't have Joel. Oh, they do have Joel. It's just out of order. They go Daniel, Hosea, Amos, Micah, Joel. We go Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah. But they go Daniel, Hosea, Amos, Micah, Joel, Obadiah, Jonah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Then they have book of Joshua, the son of Sirach. Huh. And then the book of Josephus, the son of Begogorion. But they don't have Bel and the Dragon in the Ethiopian. This is interesting. They don't have Bel and the Dragon in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1st, 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st, 2nd Thessalonians, 1st, 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews. 2nd Timothy, Titus, and Philemon, Hebrews, and the book of James. They don't have the book of James. That's the book of James is has always been questioned. So even though the Ethiopian Bible has 88 books, well, this one has 81 books. But they don't even include some of the books that we have. They don't have Lamentations. They don't have James. Oh, they do have James. They just put it. Some of them are out of order. Okay. First and Second Timothy, Titus, and Philemon, Hebrews, and the book of James, First and Second Peter, First and Second, Third John, Jude, and Revelation. So they put James after Third John, but then after Revelation they have the Sirat Sion, the book of order, the Tizaz, the book of Harold. Who's Harold? Gitsu, Abtilis, the first book of Dominos, the second book of Dominos, the book of Clement, and Didascalia. Their last book is called Didascalia. Huh. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to read through the King James, and then afterwards I'm going to go through and work my way through all of what we call the apocryphal books. People hear me say apocryphal and they think that it's like a pejorative. I'm not like insulting them by calling them apocryphal. That's just what they're called. Baruch, Baruch isn't in that one. That's Tobit, Wisdom, Sirach, Maccabees 1 and 2. It's as real as any story he's written. Wait, I need to read from the. Daniel has more verses in the Catholic Bible. Oh, I already read that. Okay, it's as real as any story he's written. You could be right. I'm not saying that that stuff is any less legit. I'm just saying how people explain why it's not in the King James Version. Not saying I agree with that. They're in the middle. Baruch, Tobit, Wisdom, Sirach, Maccabees 1 and 2, Judith, First Maccabees. You're repeating yourself. Sirach, you're repeating yourself. You said the same thing twice. A lot of Gnostic Gospels. No, none of those are Gnostic Gospels. So Gnostic Gospels would be the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, the Gospel of Mary. None of those are the Gnostic Gospels. None of those are in the Catholic Bible. Those were found later in what's the name of that tomb they found? I can't think of the name of it right now. But yeah. And after we'll eventually get to those too. We'll go over those too after all of this, but I've already read the Gospel of Thomas on stream. I've never read the Gospel of Judas, and I've never read the Gospel of Mary. I heard the Gospel of Mary is pretty like blasphemous. I think the Gospel of Thomas is blasphemous. It's some nonsense. I don't think the Catholic Bible has the Book of Enoch, but the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible does. We listened to the Book of Enoch while I was playing some video games like a while ago. Anyway, where was I? We're at darkness that can be felt. And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. It makes it seem like the Egyptians couldn't even, the darkness was so thick and heavy that you could feel it. It was more like a presence. And even if you tried to light a lantern or whatever they had back then, they probably had candles or fireplaces or whatever they used to make light in their house at night. If they would light that, there would be no light. So even if they had some sort of oil lantern, the fire was giving off no light. There was no light coming. The darkness was so thick that they couldn't even light their houses with fire, which is wild. It was like such thick darkness that you could feel it. It'd be like trudging through oil, I imagine. And Pharaoh called unto Moses and said, Go ye, serve the Lord. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you. So Pharaoh's going to let them go again, but not yet. We got one more. And Moses said, Thou must give us also sacrifice and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God. How's he going to give you anything? He don't got nothing left. Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not an hoof be left behind. For therefore must we take to serve the Lord our God, and we know not with what we must serve the Lord until we come thither. So Pharaoh's like, all right, you guys can go. You and your... Yeah, he says, let your flocks and your herds stay here. But you and your kids and your wife... Last time he said, okay, I'll let the men go. Now he's saying, I'll let all the people go. All the people can go, but leave your flocks and your herds here because we don't have anything left and we need food. And Moses is like, no, that's not the deal. We're not backing down. This isn't Pawn Stars, Pharaoh. You don't get to tell me, best I can do is let the family go, but leave the herd with me. No, we're not wheeling and dealing. I made my offer. You're going to accept it, or guess what's going to happen next? You can kiss your son goodbye. Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not be a hoof left behind. For therefore must we take to serve the Lord our God. And we know not with what we must serve the Lord until we come thither. So we're going to take it all because we don't know what he wants from us. So we're taking everything. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said unto him, Get thee from me, take heed to thyself. See my face no more, for in that day thou seest my face, thou shalt die. And Moses said, Thou hast spoken well. I will see thy face again no more. Moses is like, oh, really? You think you're in charge now? Are you angry, Pharaoh? Are you getting mad, Pharaoh? Moses I could imagine Moses smirking and saying, all right, I won't see your face anymore. Chapter 11. Here we go. The final plague. And the Lord said unto Moses, Yet will I bring one more plague. Yet will I bring one plague more unto Pharaoh and unto Egypt. Afterwards he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every man of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of the Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. And Moses said, Thus saith the Lord, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it any more. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue, against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these thy servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee. And after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land. So Moses makes the threat, all the firstborn are going to die if you don't let us go. And God says he's still not going to let you go. I'm going to actually have to do this. And Moses is like, all right, let's do it. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months, and shall be the first month of the year to you. Hold on. Oh, okay. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses wherein they shall eat it. So you're going to slaughter an unblemished lamb, and you're going to put his blood around your door. And this is going to symbolize that you serve God and that you are of the house of Israel. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. Okay, so you're not going to let anything sit out on the table overnight. Whatever's left after you're done eating, you're going to put into the fire and let it burn all night until the morning. And thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. Don't take your time. Eat quick like you're in jail, because this is Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the house where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. So there's an example of a ceremonial law. Once we get into Leviticus and Deuteronomy, I'm going to get deeper into explaining the difference between ritualistic or ceremonial laws. This is an example of a ritualistic / ceremonial law, tribal or cultural law, and moral law. This is not a moral law, right? This is a ceremonial law. The ceremony is Passover. This is the ceremonies or the rituals that we do on Passover as God commanded in order to serve God. So when Jesus comes, these ceremonies aren't necessary anymore. So Jesus comes and fulfills the law, and now we don't have to worry about not eating shellfish because it's unclean, not wearing different colors of clothes because this is how we distinguish ourselves from other tribes, or not going through all these procedures to do the Passover, these ceremonies or these rituals to do the Passover, because Christ comes to fulfill the law. But the moral law stands. Moral law always stands. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Also, one other thing, in case I forget when I get to it, if I forget, I want to say it now. Atheists will say, how can God be moral if he killed all the babies, the Amalekite babies? It's the same. So God is the moral lawgiver. God is the judge, jury, and executioner. We have to follow the laws given to us by our moral lawgiver. And if God commands us to kill someone, then we do what God says. When a judge commands an executioner to execute a criminal, the executioner is not doing something immoral. The executioner is not murdering. The executioner is justifiably killing someone as they were commanded to do by the moral lawgiver or the judge, the one who sets the laws and makes the laws and doles out the punishment. And this is God in this situation. So if God says, kill the babies, that's not murder. We're doing what God commanded us to do because he's the judge and he knows what's going to come of them. And the other way to explain it, a little metaphor here, God is our father. If you're a child and your father, and if you're a father and you like to have a beer with dinner, right? You sip a beer at dinner. But we have laws. We have moral laws. Well, this is a metaphor, so we have laws. The law is you can't drink until you're 21. Now, that's not really a biblical moral law, but this is a metaphor. This is an analogy. So in the analogy, the age 21, can't drink until you're 21. Let's say this is a moral law. If our father is drinking because he's over 21 and we are kids and we're like, can I have a beer? And he says, no, you can't drink. I'm your dad. And then the kid says, but dad, you're drinking. Doesn't matter. I'm your dad. The law is you can't drink until you're 21, so you can't drink. Now, in this case, the dad is God, the father, and he's also the one who made the law. So it's not immoral for him, you know. Moses think he knows Pharaoh's magic. Oh, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. Anyway, in case when we get to like the Amalekites or Leviticus or Deuteronomy, if I forget to say that analogy, I just thought of that. Just wanted to throw it out there. Anyway, let's get this finished up with. So they're doing Passover. Put the blood on the door. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation to you, no manner of which shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat. That only may be done of you. So basically, keep the Sabbath holy. Don't work on the Sabbath. There's going to be a day of rest, just like God took a day of rest. And all you can do on that day is eat. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought you armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day. So from the 14th to the 21st of the first month, which isn't January. They didn't have Januaries yet. This isn't Gregorian calendar time. Of the month at even, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. So you're not supposed to leave your dwelling during the Passover feast. And this is why in New York, I think Freddie told me about this, and then later I heard about it from Elijah Schaefer, and some other people were talking about it. But in like New York, they have a string that goes around the whole city, a little fishing wire, fishing line string that goes around the whole city. The reason for that string is because of this right here. During Passover, they're not supposed to leave their dwelling. So what they did in New York, in the Jewish neighborhoods, they put a string around the neighborhood, and that string is like the barrier that makes the whole neighborhood their dwelling so that they can leave their house. Seems like a cheat code. Seems like a cheat code. I don't know about all that, but you would enjoy studying Ecclesiasticus. It's called Sirach in the Catholic Bible. It's loaded with wisdom. Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to look into those books. I think I've read some of Ecclesiasticus. Not to be confused with Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiasticus. I think I've read some of it, but not the whole thing. So anyway, door of his house until the morning. So they can't leave their dwelling during Passover. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 side posts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you, the destroyer. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. This is a long chapter. Holy cow. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 5 column chapter. And it shall come to pass when ye come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he hath promised, that ye shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? And ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night, and said, Rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone and bless me also. God's basically saying, it's time to go, guys. Pharaoh's about to be pissed. Ain't no letting my people go no more. Get out. It's time to run. He's coming for you. Because his heart is still hard. It's not like when his son dies, all of a sudden his heart softens and he's like, I really like this God of the Hebrews. I'm just going to let you guys go. No, no, no. His heart is still hard. And now he's pissed because his firstborn son is dead. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out to the land in haste. For they said, We be all dead men. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. And the children of Israel journeyed. That's an odd part right there. So, of course, not like the royalty or the slaves or the taskmasters or the bondservants or anything like that, but just the people of Egypt, the Israelites asked them to borrow clothes and gold and silver, which isn't really borrowing because they don't ever bring it back. But it's odd because, it says the Lord gave the people favor in sight of the Egyptians. So God put something on their heart to convince them to give the Israelites things that they needed for their journey. Because I can't imagine without God doing that the Egyptians would have willingly given this stuff over to the Israelites, because their kids are dead. Like not a single house of the Egyptians didn't have a dead child. So I'm sure the Egyptians are very sad and very angry right now. And then the Israelites who caused all this, or they believe caused all this, show up and they're like, can I have some jewelry and some clothes for my journey? And the Egyptians are like, sure, here, take our stuff. You can borrow it, even though we're never going to see you again. Like, doesn't seem like something that they would will themselves to do. And they didn't will themselves to do it. God made them do it, basically. And the Lord gave the people favor in sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. So they basically, the Israelites like, hey, can we have all your stuff? And they're like, yeah, here, take it. Our kid's dead, but here, have our stuff too. That was God that did that. Anyway. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, that were men beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry. Neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. Victual? Victual. What is victual? Maybe I should look that up in the Strongs. Food. It just means food. Neither had they prepared for themselves any food. So their bread, they didn't even have time to leaven their bread after the Passover. They didn't have time to prepare any food. They just took the dough, took the animals. We got to dip. We got to go. Now, the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. So all this was 430 years, as far back as Joseph. So between Joseph and this time, 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day, it came to pass that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed unto the Lord, for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord to be observed of all children of Israel in their generations. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof, but every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. So when you buy a slave, don't feed him until you circumcise him. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth out the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall ye break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, and will keep the Passover of the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be of one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. The circumcision is another example of a ceremonial law or a ritual. Actually, no. Actually, the circumcision is more a tribal or a cultural law. So remember when, was it Jacob or Joseph? It was Jacob while he was with Laban, trying to marry Rachel, but he ended up marrying Leah. Remember when he left Laban to go back to Isaac, he asked Laban for some of his livestock as payment for the 7, 8, 9, 10. I think he ended up working for him for 10 years. He left in the middle of his second 7-year shift. Remember, he asked for some livestock, and Laban said, yeah, you can take some livestock. Go pick which ones you want. And Jacob specifically picked sheep that had certain coats, speckled coats or brown coats, or I forget the word they used, but it was kind of like striped coats, speckled coats, brown coats. He picked specific looking livestock of each type of animal. And I explained then the reason for this is to differentiate between whose is whose. So that as they're traveling with their livestock, if they run into another herd, or another shepherd with a herd of sheep, and then the sheep get all mixed up, they know, okay, those ones are our sheep because they have the brown spots on them. So in the same way, the circumcision differentiates, just like how all throughout, the last couple chapters during the plagues, God always says, I will set a division between Israel and Egypt, a division. There's going to be a divider. There's going to be a separation. The circumcision is the tribal cultural law of Israel, one of them, that differentiates them from everybody else. It's a way that when a woman, finds a husband, she can tell as one of them Israelites, because he ain't got that wizard sleeve. Anyway, so that's it's a bit of both. It's a bit of a cultural law and a ceremonial law, because it is a ceremony. To become an Israelite, you have to do this. So it's a bit of both, ceremony and tribal. But as we see in the New Testament, it's not a moral law, right? It's not good or evil to do this thing because in the New Testament, when Jesus removes the division between Jew and Gentile, and I forget who asked Jesus, but he's like, do we still got to be circumcised? And Jesus is like, no, it's no longer a physical circumcision, it's a circumcision of the spirit. So if you're not circumcised, the Gentiles who aren't circumcised can still be saved because they can be circumcised of the spirit through my sacrifice. And so that's how you tell the difference between what's moral law and what's just tribal or ceremonial law is circumcision, for example. Jesus says you don't got to be circumcised anymore. But all the moral laws in the Old Testament are repeated in the New Testament. And if they're not repeated, they're summed up with love your neighbor and love God. So like the 10 commandments are all summed up with love your neighbor and love God. But then things like don't lay with a man, as one man shouldn't lay with another man. That's in the Old Testament and it's repeated in the New Testament. You know, it's not one of the 10 commandments, but it's a moral law that we'll see once we get into all the different laws in Leviticus. But it's also repeated in the New Testament. It says, if you do this, you're sexual immorality, you're an abomination. So you could tell that's how you discern what's different between tribal, ceremonial, and moral law. Anyway, I have to explain that for the atheists. In case any atheists stumble upon this video, they cannot wrap their minds around this. I watch a lot of street preacher videos, and the street preacher's always out there talking at like a gay pride event, and they're like, you're judging us. You have 2 different types of clothes on. I bet you eat shellfish. Oh my goodness. Oh man, as soon as somebody says that, I know they have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea about anything in the Bible. They're just repeating something that they heard another atheist say. And as we know, there's no such thing as a smart atheist. So let me finish this chapter. I just really had to explain the circumcision because there's a lot of debate about that today. Atheists also claim that it's genital mutilation. Anyway, that's a debate. There's a debate to be had there. You know, I've got friends who they're totally against they have kids and they're totally against circumcision. They're like, I would never circumcise my boys. And I don't know. I don't have any kids, and I'll decide when I have my son. If I ever have a son, then I'll decide then. But I think I lean towards yes. For one reason that I'm not going to explain because it's none of you guys' business. I'll say it. Let's just say I would like I don't want to say that. Anyway. The other reason is sanitary. It's more sanitary. Anyway, we're getting way off track here. I just know people, when they hear all this talk about circumcision, they get weirded out. So, got to explain it. But there is a debate to be had there. And then let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Thus did all the children of Israel, as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that the Lord did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. And that's where we're going to stop today. Tomorrow, we're going to read about I might do one tomorrow. We might not do this tomorrow because if there's double verbal combat tomorrow, then I might pull like a 24-hour stream because I might get off work, go to the gym, come home, walk the dog, eat, take a shower, hopefully go get my hair cut if there's time, and then jump straight on a daytime VK because Easy said he's going to do 2. He said he was going to do one today and one tomorrow, and I guess he canceled the one today because unless it started, I don't see one going. So unless it's going to happen later tonight, I don't know. We'll see. There's a chance I might not be doing. There's a chance I might not do the Bible study tomorrow, but we might. It depends. We'll have to see. But if we do one tomorrow, we're going to learn about the pillar of fire and the cloud that they follow, and we're going to get to the parting of the Red Sea here pretty soon. Let me see. What do we got coming up? Where's the parting of the Red Sea? It's got to be page sticking together. Yep. So they're going to follow the cloud, the pillar of fire, the crossing of the Red Sea, the water from the rock, the manna for food. That's a crazy story too. They eat so much quail that they puke it out of their nose. And then the appointment of the judges, and then the 10 Commandments. So that's what we got coming up in Exodus. How many chapters are in Exodus? 36. 40 chapters in Exodus. So if we do end up doing one tomorrow, we can probably finish Exodus next week. But the Exodus has some big chapters. So it's going to be nice when we get into Psalms and Proverbs and I can just go through like 20 chapters in a day in like 2 hours. These are big chapters. All right, guys, I got to go to bed. Thank you for hanging out. Let me see. Cassidy Campbell is streaming. I kind of like him, but I kind of don't. I don't know. Dudukwe fainted after tasting a Coke. Dudukwe. Who's Grid One talking to? Let me see.
It's not even that. It's not.
I don't know. Let me see. Who can I raid you to? They just need to not leave their dwelling then. Why the need for the small string? Because they can't leave their dwelling. So a loophole that they made up, it's kind of weird, but a loophole they made up is if they put a string around the whole neighborhood, a continuous string, then it turns the whole neighborhood into their dwelling. So it's like a barrier. They bless the string, and then they think of the string as a barrier. So now the whole neighborhood is their dwelling, so they can walk around the neighborhood. As long as they don't go outside of that string, they can leave their house and they can walk around the neighborhood. They can go to their friend's house. They can go down the street. They can go for a walk. They can go to the park. They can, go outside and do things. But as long as they stay within that string is now the walls of their dwelling. It's weird. Who can we raid? Let me see. Slick move, didn't think of that. Yeah, it's kind of a cheat code. It's kind of like a loophole, Like, I don't know if God's like all right with that. It's kind of It's kind of weird. You might as well just go outside. You're basically twisting the rules. You're like, I don't know. I don't know what God thinks of that. But to be fair, they're Jewish after Jesus, so nothing they do makes a lot of sense. They reject every prophecy that they studied for so long. But we love them. We love the Jews. All right. Not going to send you to Brandon Looney Tunes because he's literally a Looney Tune. Jim Bob. Angry Conservative. Has 2 streams going at the same time. What the? Or Joel Friday. Joel Friday's talking about Kanye again. Oh my goodness. I'm not sending you there. I'll send you over to Made by Jim Bob. He's a smart guy. Debunking something. I don't know. But have a good one, guys. God bless. Actually, we only got 2 people in here. I'm not even. Let's send you to somebody smaller. Let's send you to somebody smaller. I'll just send you to AC again. He has a small channel and he'll appreciate it. So all these big channels that got like hundreds of people watching them aren't really going to appreciate a rate of 2 people. So I want to send it to somebody who will appreciate it, even if it's 1 person. All right, guys. God bless. Have a good one. I'll talk to you. If not tomorrow morning, we will definitely be back tomorrow night doing VK and all that good stuff. So God bless. Peace out. Doses.